Welcome to the 2016-2017 Club 1 volleyball season. My name is Bree Isaacson and I am the club director.
And my name is Bridget Hack and I'm the business manager.
What Bridget and I have done is we put together a video for our families. All of the information that we're going to discuss today does come from our handbook, which can be found online for our families. And what we do is we kind of break down all of the information, especially the important information for our families to help you better understand all of the things that will be upcoming. And then should you have any further questions or need assistance in something, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. The first thing I'd like to discuss today is USAV and AAU registrations. All high school athletes in our program need to be registered for both. So whether you played for us last year or you're new to our club, you'll either need to renew or register for the first time for both USA Volleyball and AAU. That information can be found in the step-by-step.
Yes.
And it will tell you exactly how to do it. But again, if you need any help, please don't hesitate to ask us. Additionally, all paperwork that's found on the step-by-step needs to be submitted to have proper registration. Practices for us begin the week of November 28th, and all registrations as well as paperwork must be submitted at that time so our athletes are eligible for practice. So if after our open house or several weeks in, Bridget or myself recognizes that the registration isn't complete or the paperwork hasn't been turned in, then we will reach out to the families. But just as a heads up, should we be missing any information on that very first day of practice, the athlete will not be able to start until we have it all complete. Practice information. So after we'll have our tryout we just had it on Sunday, and then we'll have an open house on Monday. Once we get through that and we know our exact teams, we will place a practice schedule out to families and put it on our website. At this time, we do have it almost complete, but we don't want to release it until we know our exact teams should we have to make some changes. A couple general rules just for practices for our new families. We do ask that the athletes arrive at least 15 minutes before practice starts so that they can do all the things that they need to do and we can get started on time. We do ask that if our athletes are going to be late or miss a practice, that they contact their coach directly to let them know prior to the start of practice. Additionally, if you don't know who your coach is at that time, you can contact Bridget or myself and we'll be able to pass that information along. We do allow 3 excused absences at Club 1. Those can be used for anything you need to use them for. That can be schoolwork, that can be a family party, whatever it is that you need to use, you are given 3. The only exception to this is multiple sport athletes, but we ask that our athletes use them wisely, and then if an athlete was to miss more than 3, they can make up their practices on different nights with different teams. If athletes missing practice became excessive, that could affect their play time. So if they go over the 3, then we would ask that they contact their coach directly and make up some of those practices. Also, if someone had an extended illness or injury, obviously that's a different conversation and we can handle that in a different way. We ask all athletes to wear their Club 1 practice t-shirts to practice, spandex, knee pads, socks, shoes, volleyball shoes. We ask that practice t-shirts are tucked in, hair is back. For our new athletes, if you do not have a Club 1 practice t-shirt yet, then any athletic t-shirt will do. Once those are handed out, it'd be the expectation that they'd be worn to all practices. For our returning athletes, any past Club 1 practice t-shirt will work. Also, as I mentioned, practices are closed to our families. We simply don't have the space. Our younger kids are in there early, the older kids come in and weight train, then they flop, the older girls come in and practice, the younger kids weight train. So we simply just don't have the space to have parents in there watching. We do offer an open practice the first Monday of every month if parents kind of want to come in and see what we're doing, and we set up our practice schedule accordingly to accommodate additional families in the gym. For our 15s and 16s and 17s and 18s, we do have multiple teams in each age division. So team selection won't be made until practices start at the end of November, and we have several weeks of practice before we place them on teams. So oftentimes people will say, well, what team is my daughter on? We don't know that yet. Once we get through the tryout process, we know what our numbers are. And then once we get into the gym, we'll start team selections from there. As I mentioned before, the exception to the 3 excused absences is multiple sport athletes. We encourage our athletes to do multiple things, especially if they enjoy it. The only thing that we ask is that your daughter provide a practice schedule and a game schedule to their club coach so that we know when our athletes will be with us and when they won't. And the other thing that we ask is that if you need to come to practice late and it's only for a short amount of time, we ask that you try to make that effort, or if you can come only for a little bit and then have to leave a little bit early, we ask that you make that effort as well. But as long as there's good communication between our staff and your family regarding the other sport that your daughter is playing, we've had great success with that. The next thing that I wanted to touch on was tournament information. Again, the tournament schedule is about 95% complete right now. For our high school program, we do play in Power League. We play, not every team maybe, but the majority of our teams play in Power League and President's Day and NJC. We do go to the Indianapolis qualifier. And all of those are kind of set, so we do have those. On average, we play 2 times per month. So there are a couple spots on our schedule where we're looking to fill a date. And once we do that, we'll get that information out immediately to our families. They will not start tournament play until January, and we'll play January till June. We ask, just a general rule of thumb, that if our athletes are playing the first match of a tournament, that they arrive an hour before they play, and if they're officiating, 45 minutes. Your coach may change that slightly, but just as a general rule of thumb, in case your daughter wasn't at practice the day before they played, you would know when the expectation was to be there. We do want to remind our families that every athlete must stay until all playing and officiating duties are complete, so no one's allowed to leave early. We also ask that our families respect the host site's food policy. There is not a place that I go to as a coach that I know of that allows outside food, and many of the club sites take that very seriously, and there is a rule in USA Volleyball and in the Great Lakes region that a family or an athlete can be removed if they bring in outside food. So we ask that you respect those policies. If you choose to bring your own food, eat it in your car or outside when the nice weather hits. But if your child should have an allergy, something with gluten, diabetes, please reach out to Bridget or myself, and we'd be more than happy to contact those tournament host sites directly to see what we can do to ensure that your child can meet the requirements while they're there as well. Moving on to playing time, coaches determine what position your child plays and how long they play in a match. We set the teams up with a number of athletes that we believe that everybody can have a role. Depending on the position your daughter plays will depend on how big of the role that they have, but certainly playing time is earned in practice through hard work. If an athlete was to miss more than 3 practices and it wasn't, for an extended illness and they weren't making those practices up, that could affect their play time as well. On our top teams, which is our red teams, we do not guarantee playtime. Now, certainly we put our teams together and we put the athletes on the teams that we believe can contribute to make those teams successful. But if an athlete on a red team may not be getting the same opportunity as somebody else, they will get it in practice. They're just not guaranteed when it's playtime. If an athlete's unhappy about their playtime, all we ask is that our athletes discuss first with their coach. They work one-on-one every day in practice. They know the working relationship between, and the coach has the best chance to give them the information to allow them to achieve what they're trying to achieve. If after a certain amount of time and a few weeks have gone by and there is no progress with that, then the coach and the athlete and the parents can all sit down to try to further discuss the needs of the player. Bridget or myself can also sit in those meetings. One thing that we've learned is when there's good communication from our families and our kids and back, that really we can solve most problems that we have. We do enforce a 24-hour rule, and what we ask is that if something happens at a tournament or a practice that's very upsetting to an athlete or a parent, we ask that you wait 24 hours to reach out to your coach or to Bridget or myself. And what we've learned is sometimes in the moment it can become very heated, and sometimes when things are said and done, it's hard to take those back when we're not quite as upset. So reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to discuss. We just ask that you respect that 24-hour policy. Additionally, I just want to remind our families that our coaches do dedicate many hours to our athletes and the teams that they coach, and they would never ever humiliate or embarrass your child, and we ask that you would give that same respect to our staff. We do have a parent expectation clause in our handbook, but I do just want to go over it. Bridget and myself feel very fortunate at Club One that we have some of the best families, but we just want to put this out there every year so everybody's reminded. Certainly you will be tested as you go to tournaments and you have not great sportsmanship happening in the stands by parents or by athletes. And I can assure you, you will also go to some matches where the officiating will not be what it should. But we ask that we all represent ourselves, our teams, our coaches, and our club the right way. So we put in there to be respectful of the club, coaches, and players, to demonstrate good sportsmanship at practices and tournament, not only to our families, but to others as well, to support the development of each player, to follow the proper chain of command, kid to coach, kid coach, parent, director. And we did add a new one, Bridget. What was the...
We did.
And the last one, that bad-mouthing or slanderous remarks about Club One, its coaches, or its organization will result in immediate termination with no refund. And again, we feel very, very fortunate that this hasn't been a problem for us, but we do like to put it out there as just a friendly reminder. One thing that we do at Club One is something called mid-season evaluations, and if you've been with us before, you're very familiar with those. If you haven't, this is something that we do to sort of let our athletes know where they are at the midpoint in the season. It's a general form, and it evaluates setting, passing, digging, blocking, several skills. It gives one positive and one thing that your child will need to work on. And what we do is we'll send an email out to our families at the midway point, and we will invite you as families to come in and have a very brief 5-10 minute max conversation with your daughter, the coach, and yourself. We'll go over the form, and at that time you could ask any questions that you have specific to your daughter. If you choose not to come, and that is absolutely fine too, that mid-season eval will be had between your daughter and the coach, and then that form will come home. So if you'd like to discuss it directly with your child when they get home, please know that that form will be given to them at that time. And we look to do those in our girls program end of February, beginning of March. As we move on to travel, so for our travel program, all athletes will stay with their families when we go on these travel events. So the fees that you incur for travel are the fees that we incur to send teams, coaches, and insurance, all of those things. So what will happen is that you guys will get a specific travel letter with details on hotel and things of that nature, so you know where you need to book your rooms. We do go to a couple travel events. So all of our high school program will go to the Indianapolis qualifier. So we'll all go there, and I did get the dates for that. Our 15s program will travel to Indy March 31st through April 2nd. And our 16s through 18s will travel to Indy March 25th through the 27th. So again, 16s are the March 25th through the 27th. All teams will go. It is a USAV tournament, and with that means it is a stay-to-play tournament. So what will happen is USA Volleyball will give us the hotel that we can stay at, and in turn, we will put a letter together, email it out to you, and it will have exact instructions on how to reserve your room. So you don't need to do anything at this point, but you will need to stay where USA Volleyball tells us that we need to stay. In the past, it has been the JW Marriott in Indy. We're just waiting for confirmation on that now. The great part about the JW is it's walking distance to the convention center. It's actually connected. So, but we will send that information out, and you will be able to reserve your room at that time. Additionally, our 15 red, navy, and white, all of our 16s and our 17s and 18s go to the AAU National Championships. Those are held in Orlando, Florida. The dates of AAU are June 14th through the 25th, but at this time, the exact breakdown of who goes when hasn't been released yet. So just so you can kind of pencil it in on your schedule, it's June 14th through the 25th. Once we have our teams selected, then I will send out an email with those exact dates so you can prepare for that as well. Our blue and gray 15s teams will either attend the JVA championships in the Wisconsin Dells or the A6 Navy Pier event. It's the A6 National Championships at Navy Pier. And they are in June as well. So once team selections are made, if you aren't on a team that's going to Florida, we will send you a travel letter for one of those events as well. Couple other things that I have, we do offer spirit wear. People ask us that all the time. They'll say, hey, do you guys have spirit wear? We don't sell anything at the club, but we do have an online store through Nike that will come out. It's completely optional, and we do it once or twice a year. Once the deadline passes, Nike will not reopen the store. So if you're interested in getting it, make sure you get it by that deadline. We will try to do one very early, and then we'll do one maybe after the first order comes in for any families who missed it and would like to order again. We also ask that you frequently check our website. We put lots of information on there, tournament schedules, practice schedules. Should we have any bad weather, we would put weather cancellations on there. We put our college commitments on there. So www.club1volleyball.com, feel free to check that. And in addition to that, we also have a Facebook and Instagram page, so you could follow us on that too to kind of see all the successes that our teams are having. And then the last thing that I have, I guess I have two more things. The first one is our parking lot is pretty small at the club. And so we have side parking, which is where the garages are. And then we have front parking, which is right in front of our building. Should you come to the club at a time where all of those spots are full, please know you cannot park further down past our facility in the CrossFit. There's a music store in there that's specific to them. So if you need additional parking, please know that you can park on Coil Plus Drive, which is the street that runs kind of behind our building, or you can park it in the Public Works building, which is across the street. And the last thing that I have this year is that everybody needs a volleyball. So what we've done in the past is we've taken our practice balls and taken them to tournaments. And what's happened is, first, we're losing the balls. And then second of all, we don't have enough balls back at the gym for the teams, that are practicing. And so what we will offer this year is, whether it's on our spiritware form or if it just goes out as an independent email, we're still working out the deal with Molten. But if you have a volleyball already, then just have your daughter bring that volleyball to all tournaments. If you need a new volleyball, we will get a very good quality ball at a discounted price. You can order it and then it will come to you, and then your daughter can bring that to tournaments as well. So that's just a change from something that we've done in the past. So I think that's it on my end. Again, this is just a little bit more specific of the things that can be found in the handbook. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to answer them. And then I'm going to turn it over to Bridget, and she's going to talk financials.